As Yi Xian made his way back to the barracks, he couldn't shake off his concern for the ninth princess and Banzwang. His worry grew with each passing moment, urging him to return to the barracks as quickly as possible. Along the way, Yi Xian couldn't help but notice that the houses that once bustled with activity were now empty, a stark contrast to his initial arrival. Lost in thought about the past, Yi Xian was suddenly interrupted by the appearance of a little girl. She gently tugged at his arm, calling out his name and expressing gratitude for saving their lives. Confused by her remark, Yi Xian questioned her further. Another individual joined them, cautioning the little girl not to get Yi Xian's clothes dirty. Yi Xian inquired about their identity, and the person explained that they were among those chased by the Chu army outside the city. If the Yi soldiers hadn't come to their aid, they would have been killed. Kneeling before him, the three of them expressed their heartfelt thanks for saving their lives. Flustered by their gratitude, Yi Xian implored them to stop, reminding them that as a soldier of Jiang, it was his duty to protect the people. Yi Xian then lifted the little girl, urging everyone to stand. The little girl expressed concern about herself being dirty, but Yi Xian reassured her that she was not. Grateful, the little girl conveyed her fondness for Yi Xian, and the father expressed his appreciation, acknowledging him as a truly kind person. Shifting the conversation, Yi Xian inquired about their plans and whether they had a place to go. The father explained that they were unsure of their destination at first but had since decided that heading to the imperial capital might offer greater safety. Concerned about the long and perilous journey to the imperial capital, Yi Xian suggested that it might be too dangerous for them to defend themselves. He proposed that they consider staying in the city. The father began to express a concern about the approaching army outside the city, but left his sentence hanging. Yi Xian reassured them, stating that the war would soon come to an end. He encouraged them to stay in the city without fear. The adults exchanged glances before bowing to Yi Xian, expressing their agreement and trust in him. Having parted ways with the family, Yi Xian took a moment to reflect on the weight of his decisions, knowing they could determine the fate of another person's life. Unbeknownst to him, a stark contrast of radiant and sinister qi began to envelop him. Noticing the ripples in a nearby body of water, Yi Xian paused and pondered aloud whether his sword intent might be the cause. He wondered if it could be the manifestation of both his good and evil sword intent. Testing his theory, Yi Xian extended his hand and channeled his qi, creating ripples in the water's surface. Upon witnessing the result, Yi Xian exclaimed with enthusiasm that this newfound power was unlike anything he had ever possessed before. It became evident to him that he now had the ability to manipulate his sword intent according to his will, marking his ascent as a true sword master. Returning to the barracks, Yi Xian opened the tent and immediately expressed his concern, inquiring about Xiao Jiu's well-being. Xiao Jiu reassured him, mentioning that her injury was minor. She went on to describe Long Xiu's recent arrival, and how she had successfully repelled Li Lan Ren and his cohorts. However, she expressed her apprehension that their adversaries were unlikely to give up easily. In response, Yi Xian acknowledged her valid concerns. Wearing a concerned expression, Yi Xian turned to Banzwang and inquired about the progress with Ling Han and the others. Banzwang affirmed that everything had essentially been completed without any significant issues. Yi Xian replied, expressing his satisfaction with the news. At that moment, Banzwang informed him that she was about to apply medicine to Ms. Zhang's thigh and asked if he intended to stay and observe. To his surprise, the ninth princess assumed a particular position on the bed, politely requesting Banzwang to be gentle. Banzwang responded assuringly, asking the princess to entrust her massive assets to her care. Realizing that the situation was about to get spicy, Yi Xian nervously excused himself, noting that it would be best for him to take his leave for now, given that they were occupied. After leaving the tent in haste, Yi Xian found himself quite puzzled by the situation. He wondered aloud why the two seemed so unaffected by his presence. While he was regaining his composure, an unexpected voice greeted him from behind. Turning his attention to the voice, Yi Xian realized it was the fifth-floor master. Explaining the purpose of his visit, the fifth-floor master revealed that the drunken immortal house had decided to withdraw from the matter and expressed his apologies. In response, Yi Xian assured him that there was no need to apologize. He recognized the drunken immortal house's assistance as a significant favor and mentioned his willingness to help the drunken immortal house in the future if necessary. In return, the fifth-floor master praised Yi Xian's character, stating that he had made the right judgment about Yi Xian and recognized him as a true friend of love and righteousness. As a gesture of goodwill, the fifth-floor master presented Yi Xian with a case containing 2 swords, a gift from the drunken immortal house. Yi Xian asked about the reason behind the gift, and the fifth-floor master replied that it was a gesture to convey apologies on behalf of the drunken immortal house, hoping for acceptance. Expressing his gratitude, Yi Xian thanked the fifth-floor master for the generous gift. The fifth-floor master went on to explain that the 2 flying swords were named Swift Shadow and were designed for sword immortals skilled in sword control. These swords, when effectively controlled, could amplify one's power by at least 2 times. Wearing a contented expression, Yi Xian eagerly voiced his desire to test the 2 swords. In response, the fifth-floor master readily granted him permission and encouraged him to proceed. With his qi-infused fingers, Yi Xian skillfully manipulated the flying swords, directing them toward the wall. As he witnessed this impressive demonstration, the fifth-floor master couldn't help but quietly acknowledge that the speed exceeded what one could normally achieve in this secluded realm. Expressing his deep appreciation, Yi Xian acknowledged the exceptional quality of the sword and conveyed his heartfelt thanks to the fifth-floor master. In a gracious response, the fifth-floor master accepted Yi Xian's gratitude and revealed that there was another item for him. He explained that Senior Mu Yuan of Kanglan Academy had requested this delivery. Yi Xian's curiosity piqued, and he inquired further, leading the fifth-floor master to unveil a box of intricately crafted golden figures. He elaborated that these 12 golden figures were meticulously crafted by an exceptionally skilled artisan who had sourced red gold from various corners of the world. Expanding on their significance, the fifth-floor master explained that each of these golden figures contained a formation. When infused with spiritual energy, these figures could be activated to exert a world-suppressing power. However, the fifth-floor master lamented that these figures had suffered severe damage over time, leaving their spiritual potency equivalent to that of the Harmony realm. Furthermore, due to the broken formation, every activation required an astonishing 100,000 extremely high-quality spirit weapons. Intrigued by their potential, Yi Xian inquired about their power, prompting the fifth-floor master to encourage him to experiment and discover their capabilities firsthand. Injecting his qi into one of the figures, Yi Xian witnessed it transform into a towering figure of substantial size. Taking a step to test its might, Yi Xian directed his qi at the golden figure. Upon seeing the outcome of his attack, Yi Xian privately concluded that his attack had failed to even scratch the figure. Acknowledging the item's potential, the fifth-floor master expressed that possessing it would provide Yi Xian with a measure of security. He indicated that he had pressing matters to attend to and intended to depart. However, Yi Xian called out to the elder, requesting him to wait. Producing a pouch, Yi Xian presented it to the fifth-floor master, who inquired about its contents. Yi Xian explained that it contained payment for the Divine Harmony pills, expressing his profound gratitude for the assistance he had received and his reluctance to continually rely on the fifth-floor master's generosity. Despite the modest sum, Yi Xian humbly asked the elder to kindly accept it. The fifth-floor master, with a warm smile, agreed to accept the payment, and Yi Xian expressed his heartfelt thanks to the elder. On the following day, just outside the city gate, the Dark Lord, Lan Ren, and their soldiers all directed their gaze towards the prominent gate. Lan Ren engaged in conversation with the Dark Lord, proposing that if they patiently waited for another half-hour, the reinforcements from the Black Flame Army would arrive. With a formidable combined force of 100,000 troops, including the soldiers from the Dark World, he anticipated that capturing the city would be a straightforward task. Curious about the situation, the Dark Lord inquired about the veracity of the report regarding Yi Xian being surrounded by peak experts of the Dharma realm. Lan Ren confirmed the information, stating that according to his reliable sources, the experts had already departed the previous night. Seeking further clarity, the Dark Lord pointed out the possibility that Yi Xian might have managed to escape the encirclement. Lan Ren responded, expressing his belief that Yi Xian, despite being a formidable adversary of Kangmu Academy, was not one to fear death. He surmised that due to Yi Xian's strong bonds and affections, he would never willingly choose to flee. However, the Dark Lord astutely reminded Lan Ren of a critical individual they shouldn't overlook. Intrigued, Lan Ren inquired about this person, prompting the Dark Lord to cast his gaze into the distance. With a meaningful tone, he revealed that he was referring to Yi Xian's master, the Sword Immortal who had slain several Kungmu Academy elders. Despite his hesitation, Lanren determined that they should eliminate her as well, emphasizing that it was merely a matter of paying a certain price. At that very moment, a messenger announced the arrival of the Black Flame Army. With all the pieces in place, Lanren issued the command to commence their assault. In response to his orders, the soldiers charged at the city gate without hesitation, their voices echoing with the declaration of their intent. Observing the charging enemies from below, the ninth princess pointed out the importance of victory in this clash. Yi Xian readily agreed, and as the archers among their soldiers prepared their bows, the ninth princess issued the command to release the arrows. The soldiers responded promptly, sending a flurry of arrows raining down upon the charging enemies at the city gate. In retaliation, the enemy forces also let loose a volley of arrows, seeking to halt the defenders. However, the ninth princess and Yi Xian deftly deflected these incoming projectiles. Despite their efforts, some arrows found their marks among the defending troops. Witnessing this, Yi Xian grew increasingly concerned, recognizing the potential for heavy casualties if the situation persisted. Noticing the approaching enemies, a vigilant soldier nearby urgently warned the duo to be careful. Swift to respond, Yi Xian engaged the oncoming enemy forces, determined to hold them at bay. Looking closely, the ninth princess identified them as the Dao soldiers from the Dark World. With resolute intent, Yi Xian took charge of the immediate threat, instructing the princess to lead their troops in countering the assault. With deadly skill, Yi Xian engaged the enemies directly in front of him. However, another wave of foes emerged, reminding each other of their mission to secure Yi Xian's head. Unfazed by their threats, Yi Xian taunted his adversaries, dismissing them as mere seekers of death as he proceeded to decimate their ranks. Meanwhile, one of the soldiers alerted the ninth princess to an enemy attack from below. Observing the assailant's remarkable speed, the ninth princess expressed her concern. The enemy smirked at the ineffectual arrows aimed at him as he continued his advance toward the city gate. Recognizing the imminent danger, the ninth princess realized that the enemy's target was the city gate itself. As the enemy closed in on the gate, he readied his spear for a powerful strike, instructing his fellow warriors to prepare for a follow-up attack. Suddenly, a small sword narrowly missed the enemy's face, and Mu Yun charged forward, demanding that he step aside. The person evaded his attack, and Mu Yun declared that if he wanted to pass through the gate, he would need to part with his head. Unfazed by his threat, the person responded with a dismissive expression, suggesting that Mu Yun was overestimating himself. Following this, the person launched his spear at Mu Yun. Despite being impressed by its speed, Mu Yun managed to successfully deflect the spear. Seeing this, the person briefly complimented his skill. However, just as his spear returned to his grasp, the person declared that Mu Yun is only destined to be dead. Following this, the person lunges at him, kicking him in the stomach and sending him crashing to the wall. With a menacing and ominous statement, the person approaches Mu Yun, and with a sinister smile and his spear ready to strike, the person implies that the hell is already waiting for him. However, before his attack could reach Mu Yun, an unexpected situation surprises him, followed by an attack that leads to his demise. Mu Yun addressed Yi Xian, conveying that if he had arrived slightly later, their only alternative would have been to continue their brotherhood in another life. Arriving with the whole group, Yi Xian explained that there were too many enemies on the way. As he assisted him in standing up, Bai Zhe pointed a teasing look at Mu Yun as he questioned if he could still handle himself. In response, Mu Yun inquired whether Bai Zhe was not willing to help him. Teasing further, Bai Zhe commented on Mu Yun, noting that he was daydreaming even before it got dark. Mu Yun retorted with a playful expletive. Observing the rest of the enemies, Yi Xian instructed Mu Yun to take a break, assuring him that he would take care of the rest. Upon noticing Yi Xian, the Dark Lord remarked that Yi Xian had finally arrived. Following this, the elite Black Flame Army charges at their direction, determined to eliminate them all. Observing this, Lanren expressed his thoughts, questioning who would dare to stand against the elite Black Flame Army and warning Yi Xian that he should simply await his impending demise. Watching from above, the expressions of the city soldiers of the city get tense as they realize that they are about to deal with the Black Flame Army. In contrast to this, Yi Xian charged at the enemies without hesitation. One soldier attempted to counter his attack, but Yi Xian proved stronger in their clash. Observing the body of his fallen comrade, one of the soldiers is left stunned in disbelief that it only took Yi Xian a single hit to defeat his comrade. Similarly, Yi Xian's gaze remained glued to his fallen enemy, inwardly surprised by the remarkable strength displayed by the soldier's equipment, and how it could resist his sword. Out of nowhere, an idea spontaneously occurred to him. Yi Xian pondered about the benefits they would gain if they were to acquire the equipments. However, before he could complete his thought, Ban Zwang complimented the military armor in question, deeming it as valuable equipment. Subsequently, Ban Zwang swiftly dealt with the nearby enemies, deciding that they should seize all of them. With a thumbs up paired with a smile, Yi Xian complimented her action. Ban Zwang's lover proudly chimed in, declaring with pride that Ban Zwang is her little baby and expressed admiration, asking if others agreed, all while laughing heartily. One of the soldiers exclaimed in awe, drawing attention to Yi Xian's remarkable feat in defeating an elite member of the Black Flame Army. Yi Xian pointed toward the fallen Black Flame soldier and shared his perspective. He stated that considering the current circumstances, it was clear that the Black Flame forces might not be as formidable as they seemed. He suggested that if they engaged with them, victory might still be attainable. Upon hearing this, the city's soldiers were invigorated, and their morale received a significant boost. The ninth princess observed this with a smile, inwardly recognizing Yi Xian's capabilities, which met her expectations. Suddenly, Yi Xian's attention was captured by the sound of a zither. The zither's owner addressed Yi Xian and expressed his surprise at finding a genius like Yi Xian in Qinzhou, aside from in Lungxiu, which was quite unexpected. Recalling his previous encounter with the woman who played the lute, Yi Xian asked the zither owner if he had any association with her. Clearly annoyed by the comparison to the girl, the zither owner launched an attack while demanding that Yi Xian refrain from comparing someone ranked 12th on the demon list to someone ranked 11th like himself. He stated that the girl did not deserve such a comparison. Although some of the attacks reached the city's soldiers, Yi Xian managed to evade a direct hit. Nevertheless, he couldn't hide the pain on his face as he commented on the strength of the internal force, which was evident from his trembling hand. Addressing Yi Xian, the zither owner disclosed that they had offered him 10 million of the finest spirit stones to eliminate Yi Xian. However, during another attack, the zither owner expressed doubt about whether Yi Xian was truly worth such a sum. In response, Yi Xian charged at the person and launched an attack, remarking that there was no need for the zither owner to question his worthiness. Following Yi Xian's attack, the zither owner collapsed to the ground, mouth agape and eyes rolled back. Meanwhile, observing the situation from a distance, Lanren commented on Yi Xian's achievement, realizing that he had indeed reached the level of a sword master. Given his status as a sword master, Lanren concluded that for the sake of Kongmu Academy, he couldn't allow Yi Xian to survive. During this exchange, Lanren unleashed a chi attack in Yi Xian's direction. Reacting swiftly, Yi Xian evaded the attack. However, he quickly discerned that the assault was aimed at the city gate. Regrettably, it was too late to react, and a massive explosion utterly demolished the city gate. Seeing this, Yi Xian realized that Lanren was actually at the level of the Dharma realm. Lanren sneered at him in response. Following this, Lanren ordered his soldiers to charge. Upon witnessing this, Yi Xian resolved to stop them. At that very moment, the rest of the group arrived. Addressing the group, Yi Xian received a warning from Ban Zwang, who cautioned him that fighting alone was risky. Satisfied with their actions, Yi Xian promised them that he would reward them with more money upon their return. Placing his palm on his sword, Yi Xian manifested a mysterious phenomenon behind his back. Seeing this, Lanren expressed disbelief, stating that the materialization of sword intent was something only a sword emperor could achieve. Without hesitation, Yi Xian released his attack, obliterating all the enemies in its path. The Black Flame soldiers watched in disbelief, their chief's claim that Yi Xian was only at the level of secluded realm now seemingly contradicted. Another soldier pointed out that Yi Xian's attack was beyond the capabilities of someone in the secluded realm. Surprised by his newfound power, Yixian wondered aloud if the formidable sword intent he was witnessing had been fueled by his determination to safeguard Two Worlds City. He marveled at its terrifying power and declared his intention to replicate it once more. Charging at the enemies, Yixian displayed his newfound strength. Watching in awe from afar, Baizhe questioned whether this level of capability was within the realm of human achievement, and if anyone could stop him. Lin Han agreed, concurring with Baizhe's assessment. As the city wall crumbled, panic among the soldiers became evident. Another soldier took charge, instructing the others to prevent the enemy from breaching their defenses. Observing the collapse of the city wall, Baizhe instructed the rest of the group to defend the city alongside him. Confronting Lanren, Yixian questioned his audacity to play tricks on him. In response, Lanren taunted him, challenging him to block given his proficiency. Simultaneously, Lanren launched another attack while urging Yixian to keep defending for his entertainment. Yixian replied, declaring that even if he died there today, he would not let them set foot in his kingdom. Just as he said this, the memory of his assurance to the father of the little girl resurfaced in his mind. With unwavering determination, Yixian drew his two gleaming flying swords and released them towards the enemies. Chaos ensued among the enemy soldiers as the swords reached their targets, attacking them in every direction. Unfazed, Lanren smiled as he ordered the soldiers to concentrate their firepower on Yixian, considering it as not enough. The soldiers complied and charged at Yixian, declaring their intention to kill him. Undeterred, Yixian challenged them further, vowing not to let them pass. However, Ban Zwang pointed out that Yixian has already done his best, and therefore there is no need to be angry and lose his temper. Following her, the 9th princess arrived and asked Yixian to leave while offering to block the enemies. Uncertain about their fate, Yixian questioned them if they would regret it if they died there today. In response, the 9th princess pointed out that Yixian could have left the place but decided to stay there. Returning his question, the 9th princess inquired if he would regret it if he died there with her. Without hesitation, Yixian declared that he would never regret it. In contrast to his declaration, Ban Zwang's lover chimed in, breaking the emotional scene as she declared that she is not going to die, expressing her desire to stay alive and marry her baby. While Yixian and the 9th princess was left speechless to themselves, Ban Zwang behind them was inwardly blushing to herself, privately scolding her lover that now was not the right time for her to say that. Collecting himself, Yixian suggested that they couldn't let her be the only one in the limelight, and proposed going as well to confront the enemies. However, despite their combined effort, Lanren sneered as he expressed his doubt that their meager number would be able to defeat his army of 100,000 soldiers. He ominously declared his intention to wait until they were exhausted before attempting to kill them all. At that moment, a soldier urgently reported an attack from behind. Displaying a worried expression, Lanren expressed his disbelief, stating that the arrival of reinforcements from Jiang was impossible, unable to fathom how they could have acquired such support. Upon closer inspection of the flag, Lanren realized it was the Ning kingdom, led by their lord herself. Angered, Lanren cursed Tubayen, questioning her reasons for trying to save Yixian, considering her previous claim of neutrality. The Dark Lord explained that according to his spies, Yixian and Tubayen had a strong friendship. Additionally, he pointed out that her personal leadership of the troops indicated that Yixian was of great importance to her. In response, Lanren threatened to eliminate her as well. As she entered the battlefield, Tubayen wreaked havoc, sending multiple enemies flying with her spear and stabbing another before coming to a halt. Observing Yixian causing chaos in the enemy ranks, Tubayen questioned inwardly if this was the definition of killing insanity. After dealing with some of the enemy soldiers, Yixian noticed her presence. Just as Yixian called out to her, multiple enemy soldiers attempted to gang up on him. However, in a moment of carelessness, swift and precise strikes came to Yixian's aid, halting the advance of the enemy soldiers. Turning his attention to her, Yixian questioned Tubayen's reason for being there personally. Tubayen responded firmly, raising a question that revealed that she had personally engaged in countless wars. She encouraged him to skip the nonsense and focus on dealing with Lanren first. Convinced, Yixian grinned as he mounted the horse, positioning himself behind Tubayen and wrapping his arms around her from the back. Following this, Yixian gently spurred the horse, urging it to move forward. Drawing closer to the enemies, Tube Yen warned him about an enemy on the left, and Yi Xian reacted immediately. Subsequently, Yi Xian praised her horsemanship. Noticing his hand on her waist, Tube Yen blushed in embarrassment and mumbled at Yi Xian for his lack of restraint. As they charged toward him, Lan Ren's frustration reached its peak, leading him to give the order for his soldiers to target the approaching duo. Acknowledging his order, the soldiers released a volley of arrows in their direction, while some soldiers continued to charge at them. Recognizing the overwhelming numbers closing in on them, Tube Yen concluded that they couldn't rush through. Despite this, Yi Xian instructed her to keep going. With his qi-infused hand, Yi Xian manifested a massive protection, shielding them from the arrows. Following this, the elite Black Flame army continued to charge at them. Thinking quickly, Yi Xian instructed Tube Yen to bend over so he could deal with their opponents. Tube Yen immediately complied, and Yi Xian directed a qi slash at their enemies. Following this, Yi Xian inquired if she was alright, and Tube Yen replied affirmatively. However, to her annoyance, Tube Yen noticed that Yi Xian was holding her tightly from behind. Yi Xian explained that his intention wasn't to offend her. He was simply afraid of falling off the horse and being trampled to death. As she turned her back to look at him, expressing her doubt with a blushing face, Tube Yen immediately noticed an arrow directed in his direction. Reacting swiftly, Tube Yen pulls him away from the path of the arrow. Yi Xian thanked her in response, and Tube Yen acknowledged his gratefulness. Following this, Yi Xian pondered the situation, wondering if they should continue forward. In response, Tube Yen gave her agreement. However, as an arrow struck one of the soldiers, their attention was drawn to another barrage of arrows heading their way. Recognizing the danger, Yi Xian stepped forward. He then summoned his swords, realizing that the approaching arrows were different from the previous ones. He instructed Tube Yen to go ahead while he held off the attackers. Despite the combined strength of his swords, one arrow is enough for Yi Xian to receive a backlash. Tube Yen called him in worry, but Yi Xian simply questioned her reason for staying there. Turning to the blushing lady, Yi Xian explained that if she didn't go, there would be no chance for him to escape. In the face of his impending success, Lan Ren declared that Yi Xian and Tube Yen, along with the entire Jiang Kingdom and Ning Kingdom, would meet their end there. With determination, Lan Ren ordered his soldiers to kill them both. Given the dire circumstances, Yi Xian commented that he had never expected them to meet their end together. In response, Tube Yen referred to him as a madman before surprising him with a kiss. Simultaneously, the enemy soldiers were closing in on the two, eager to also get their hands on Yi Xian. Noticing this, Yi Xian slashed at one of the enemies, but the other soldiers continued their attack. Unfazed, Yi Xian sneered and urged them to come, promising them that they would experience something new. As Yi Xian produced the 12 golden figures, panic spread among the enemy soldiers as they wondered what they were witnessing. With the 12 enlarged figures surrounding them, Tube Yen questioned their identity, and Yi Xian calmly replied that they were his escorts. Simultaneously, Yi Xian ordered the figures to eliminate all of their attackers. With glowing eyes, the figures followed his command. Watching from a distance, Lan Ren couldn't help but wonder about the remarkable power of the 12 figures. Responding to Yi Xian's command, another devastating attack was unleashed, obliterating more of their enemies. After the fierce display, Yi Xian gently took Tube Yen's arm, suggesting that they should make their escape. However, Lan Ren vehemently disagreed, his anger evident as he floated in the sky. Observing Lan Ren's reaction, Yi Xian urged Tube Yen to be cautious. With his qi-infused hand, Lan Ren directed a colossal qi explosion in their direction, sending them hurtling to the ground. As they collected themselves, Yi Xian inquired about her well-being, and Tube Yen assured him that she was fine. Following this, Yi Xian suggested that she should go ahead, as she had no part in this confrontation. However, with a blush on her face, Tube Yen questioned whether he had lost his mind and whether he thought she was doing this solely for him. In response, Yi Xian reminded her of the moment she had kissed him, noting that her actions had suggested otherwise. However, Tube Yen denied this, suggesting that he was simply overthinking things. At that moment, Yi Xian shielded Tube Yen from an incoming attack and then took her hand, swiftly maneuvering them out of harm's way, a wise decision, considering the ensuing destruction displayed by the impact of the attack. Surveying the massive crater created by Lan Ren's attack, Tuba Yen concluded that he was certainly no ordinary Dharma realm practitioner, and that they needed to exercise caution. Yi Xian agreed and asked once more if she was all right. Noticing his hand still holding her arm, Tuba Yen blushed as she confirmed her well-being. However, Lan Ren interjected, declaring that both of them must meet their end today. Looking up, Tuba Yen announces Lan Ren's arrival. Cornering the duo, Lan Ren channeled his qi and launched a powerful attack, questioning who else could possibly save them now. Yi Xian responded with unwavering determination, mounting a counterattack while proclaiming that it was far from certain who would meet their end in this battle. Despite the distance between them during their clashing attacks, blood spattered from Yi Xian's hand as he bravely shielded Tuba Yen from the ensuing explosion. Lan Ren acknowledged Yi Xian's talent but emphasized that he wouldn't find peace until he had eliminated him. In response, Tuba Yen demanded that Lan Ren be silent and launched an attack of her own, making it clear that if he wanted to reach Yi Xian, he would have to go through her first. Lan Ren readily accepted her challenge, expressing his intent to end her life on this fateful day. Blocking Tuba Yen's attack with ease, Lan Ren sent her flying toward Yi Xian. Regaining her footing, Tuba Yen urged Yi Xian to join forces to eliminate Lan Ren. However, Lan Ren questioned their capabilities mockingly. Undeterred, Yi Xian cautioned Lan Ren against arrogance and unleashed another attack. Lan Ren effortlessly blocked Yi Xian's attack, boldly declaring that Yi Xian stood no chance against him. Yi Xian observed this encounter, pondering if this was the power of someone at the level of the Dharma realm. To Yi Xian's astonishment, Lan Ren had already closed the distance, preparing to land a punch as he taunted Yi Xian for being too slow. Lan Ren struck Yi Xian in the face, followed by a blow to the stomach, asserting that Yi Xian was not strong enough to face him. Yi Xian was sent sprawling to the ground, and Lan Ren prepared for another devastating attack, poised to end his life. However, in a surprising turn of events, Tuba Yen stepped forward to defend Yi Xian. With unwavering determination, Tuba Yen summoned a protective shield and commented on Yi Xian's perceived weakness. Lan Ren's face lit up with a grin as he unleashed his devastating attack, sending the duo tumbling to the ground. Battered and bruised, Yi Xian managed to muster the strength to sit upright, though the excruciating pain coursed through his body, making him feel as if he were on the verge of breaking. His gaze shifted towards Tuba Yen, whose frail form lay sprawled nearby, the toll of the damage evident on her expression. Yi Xian's heart clenched with worry as he saw Tuba Yen's weakened state, and a quiver of concern ran through his frame. Despite her fading consciousness, Tuba Yen managed to respond, assuring him that everything was all right. Yi Xian rushed towards her, questioning why she had acted so recklessly. He inquired about the reasons behind her risking her life to save him, emphasizing Lan Ren's formidable power at the level of the Dharma realm. Tuba Yen attempted to reach for his face, whispering that he was being too noisy. However, before she could finish her sentence, her arm fell limply to the ground, followed by her eyes closing. Panic washed over Yi Xian as he urgently called out for her to wake up. Yi Xian repeated her name multiple times, but Tuba Yen remained unresponsive. Seeing the situation unfold, Lan Ren erupted in laughter, convinced that Yi Xian's master wouldn't appear. Mocking Yi Xian, Lan Ren comes to the conclusion that all of Yi Xian's bravado had been a mere pretense all along. With an indiscernible yet determined expression, Yi Xian implored the unresponsive Tuba Yen to hang on, promising that he would save her without a doubt. Addressing the Great Spirit on the second floor, Yi Xian made a demand, pledging to offer it the Tao and release it from the tower in exchange for its help in defeating Lan Ren, as he sought any means possible to change this turn of events.